100%.
All right, John, let's get into our topic tonight.
Right, let's do it.
We've it's no surprise. Jim's Jigs is a sponsor of the show. Now, this does not mean we're going to go kind on Jim's Jigs and give him just a fair weather review. Where we're going to go hard on this new jig head, but we're very, very excited about this. Let's see here, and we've here's some of the jigs that you tested there, Jim or John. You've got them all painted up, and you prettied yours up because our samples, came bare. And which is perfectly fine.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's great.
Yep. It worked out well, and
but I got it to my wife's finger polish.
But you did. So you purdied some of them. So first off, I guess is what makes this a new jig head, because it looks just like the same old jig head. It's got the same hook keeper. It's got the same lead. When you look at it, it's in the design of the hook, John. So this is what is called a V-Loc hook. So it's V-LOC, V-Loc hook. And I guess they developed these kind of a little more up north for catching, different kind of trout, crappie, things like that up north.
Not walleye.
And walleye even.
Is that what they were catching with them things?
Crazy walleye.
Walleye
deals right there. Yep. So let me see that without sticking me there.
Did you think I was going to hit you?
Me hit you. So the whole thing with the V-Loc, John, is it's got this longer shank, so the fish hits it, and it gives you some pull to get this set. And then once it's set, the fish sits back here in this V groove right here. So instead of just being that round where if the fish kind of turns a little bit, he could spit the hook, that V-Loc kind of does what the title says. It locks him down into this position right here. So that is the whole thought process in this the jig process. Now, you have been trying these hooks out. You've done a little bit of inshore with them. You've done some offshore with them, and I think you've had some success.
So what I tested and what I wanted to see is everybody knows that the two hardest fish to get in the boat. Well, I'm going to say hardest fish in our area to get in the boat without a net, if you forget your net, is a trout and a ladyfish.
Via using a jig head.
Ladyfish jump like crazy and they throw the hook. Trout come to the top of the water and they throw their head and they throw the hook. You go to lift the trout out of the water and the hook comes out and the big old trout flops right back in the water if you forget your net. I wanted to see if this V-Loc hook meant any difference from a regular hook. So I was on a mission to go out there and catch ladyfish and trout. Now I caught several other fish, but I'm not worried about those. I wanted to see if this hook literally would hold a fish that I just took the rod and went whoop and threw him in the boat. I had 0 fish come off. Now, I'm not saying that they don't come off, because somebody else may have had a couple come off. But what I'm saying is the fish that I caught and my wife caught all hung perfectly hooked. And I'm not talking about little trout. These trout were 20-something inches long. So they were good trout to try this with. Now, I was in no tournament. I wasn't trying to keep these trout. I let fish go anyway. So to me, it didn't matter if they got off or not. I make fish famous by giving a photo, letting them go. I don't care to keep them. I just like to flip them in the boat, and then they stay on the hook. I unhook them and take a picture and let them go. Now, with that being said, I was 100% on my numbers of not losing a fish by flipping it in the boat. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see if that V made a difference in the hook's mouth, and it did.
No. So my experience with them is very good. The old jig style, the J hook, it's caught fish
forever,
for years and years.
Works great.
Still a very good, option. I don't know that this is going to make that jig head, go away.
Nope. But
this is just another option to throw in your arsenal of jig heads. The J hook works fine. It works great. I have lost, I would give it a 50% ratio of, call it a trout, if you will, trout and ladyfish, because again, like you said, those fish are very hard to stay hooked.
Yes.
I've probably, on a jig head, lost a good 50%. Maybe 60%, maybe we're being a little too harsh, but I've lost that many on the J style.
Yep.
Now, I have been fishing shrimp on a jig head, and I've been fishing artificials on a jig head with this jig head. And what I found that if you are using the shrimp, I've had a very, very successful ratio of keeping that hook seated on a trout. If I was using an artificial like the DOA, that is a little bit of a bigger bait, it seemed like I had the potential to catch a thin lip hook versus like a deep-seated, hook, where it was back in the mouth a little bit.
So that's where the fish is striking the lure.
Right.
So basically attacking and striking, maybe striking short and hitting it a little bit short.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, so I have had a couple of those, come off. So very early on, I was fishing with shrimp, and I was like, yeah, I could swing these fish in the boat. It's great.
Good numbers.
Trying to do it. I'm still probably 90% of swinging them in the boat and not having any issue, which is a great ratio.
That's pretty good.
But I still, even though that I can do that, if I'm near the net, I'm probably still going to try and grab the net, just to make sure at least we get our limit, and then we can play around.
Then you can play around.
With doing.
We only did this. We're not recommending flipping. We did this to see. I wanted to see the difference of hook.
Right.
I was literally going, okay, why? I want to know why. I don't care that this hook worked or not. That wasn't the point. The point was I want to see why this design is going to be good for here. Yeah. And what I've seen is with this design is it worked phenomenal for me. Yeah. Now, Eric uses clients. He's got people that sometimes don't know how to fish. He's catching a lot more fish than me because I'm specifically targeting a few fish. He's fishing 20, 30 trout. I only had like 6 or 7 trout. But they were all good size and they all worked. So his ratio is probably going to be a little lower than mine. But it worked. Now, here's the cool thing that people don't know about. If you ever fish offshore, do you take jig heads with you when you go offshore?
I do.
You do. I know I have several friends that do now. But if you don't, buy a bag and put them in your box.
Yep.
Why, do you say? Is there any trout out there?
No. Well, I have caught a trout out there good ways, but it's not what you're fishing for.
I'm talking offshore. Yeah. Okay, so 30 feet and deeper. Or less, but we're talking 30 feet and deeper. So why would I want a jig head in the box?
No.
Why? Do you have any idea?
Free lining without being so free?
Yes. So when you're fishing in 30 foot of water and you're just throwing out a little chum and you're sitting there and you're fishing on the bottom for grouper, that's all fun and dandy because, grouper you can keep 2. Then you got to go, once you limit out, because there's so many of them out there, what do you do next?
No.
You might want to target, say, hogfish, mangrove snapper. Hogfish will come up in a chum line. I did not know that, but I have found out that they do.
Yeah.
And mangroves love chum lines. So if you throw a little chum out and you take a light rod and you use, say, 15-pound braid and 20-pound fluorocarbon, and you tie one of these jig heads on here, you can feather this jig head out in that chum line and catch mangrove snappers. That's another fish that offshore you can keep 10 per person and add that to your aggregate of snapper so that you don't go over. Now, inshore is only 5, offshore is 10. They got to be 12 inches offshore, 10 inches inshore. But there's you another fish to catch. So have you a bag of jig heads and you'll be surprised what you can catch.
So, John, we're getting some comments in here. So one of them is a question. How do you rig the shrimp on the jig head? So what I do, and I do this because I don't have nails. I don't have fingernails. So I will take and I'll bite the tip of the tail of the shrimp off. I will take it and bring it down his back, out his back. So when my jig head is sitting like this, my shrimp is facing this way, head first. What that does is that when you bump your shrimp's bumping backwards. So you do this, shrimp swim backwards, it looks natural. So that's what I do when I hook that, to it. It stays in that V-Loc. It works really well. Let's see. And then another question on here was, how good does the shrimp stay on the hook? When I hook it like that, it'll stay on, until I fling it off, or if it's been sitting in the water a while, it might get a little, might get a little soggy and it may come off. But no worse or than any other J hook style.
So I don't hook my shrimp like that. I hook my shrimp right through the meat at the tail and come right out the hard spine. And I let the whole shrimp hang out here, and I just have the tail hooked right here. That's the way I fish my shrimp. So my shrimp gets out there and he's still alive and he's kicking. And then now eventually you'll throw one off like that, but man, do the fish love it like that.
Yeah. Now, one of the questions is, do you use artificial with the jigs or just on the live shrimp? I was using some artificial. Like if you're using the DOA fluke, you push it up just like you would other ones. The ridges on here are the artificial bait keeper. So you just push that all the way up to the head and it will hold on there for a while. If you start getting a lot of fish hits, you can always take and bite that head off and re-push it back on. Or if you got a little super glue on the boat, you can put a little dab of super glue on the jig head, push it up, and that'll help hold it on there as well. So just another little tip, right there.
But
for
don't
that.
glue your fingers together.
Don't do that. Yeah. So
I guess we need to have one night on here, bring some shrimp out and show people how to hook things.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be something.
Oh,
we'll
we're going to show people how to hook things.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, stick around. So in the end, very positive review. I highly recommend, getting these at your local bait shop. If they don't have them at your local bait shop, ask for them. Jim's Jigs, V-Loc jig heads. Like I said, give them a try. Tonight's winner is going to get a pack of 10 to try. Jim, like I said, Jim is a sponsor of the show, Jim Turner from Jim's Jigs. And like I said, price-wise, I think they're very cost effective. And generally, you get more in the bag than you do any of the other jig heads that cost about the same amount of money. So as a guide, cost savings kind of comes into fishability.
Cost effectiveness.
Yeah, so there you go. So, John.
And I heard they hook and hold.
They do. So, John, this is why I say 90%, John, because I did have one of these trout come loose on me yesterday, and I think you had this on your page the other day, and you said, guess whose hand that is?
Wasn't my hand.
And if anybody guessed, it was Captain Eric Hastie's. I don't know what you were giving away here.
I wasn't giving away nothing.
A free trip with John King or something.
I didn't think before I posted it because I didn't know if you'd want it to be a surprise on the show.
Well, I mean, it was going to be a surprise.
Maybe I shouldn't have done that, and so I took it down because I jumped the gun. But I stole a
little thunder.
I was like Tommy Boy. I was so excited to put it online that it wasn't my hand.
Yeah.
Because it's always fun to post other people's troubles.